to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome to the Monday, March 20th, 9:30 a.m. work session. I will ask Secretary Treasurer William Pell to call the roll.
William Parrish.
Present.
Ann Walker.
Here.
Edward J. Warner Jr.
Present.
William Pell is present, and Scott M.
I am
Horowitz.
present, really.
We ready to go.
All right, here we are. Okay, let's jump right into it. We got a bit of an agenda here. Discussions, Trustee Welker, Bridgehampton Tennis and Surf Club, beachfront wedding ceremonies.
Okay, I'm going to ask Mark to chime in on this, please, but basically what's happened, and Lisa, maybe you want to chime in as well. We've had a request from the Bridgehampton Surf and Racket Club they perform many wedding ceremonies over the course of the summer, and they would like to have an application that covers all the weddings, rather than having to apply individually for each one. So, I don't know which one of you guys wants to go first. Do you want to chime in?
Yeah, sure. I know I had looked at the property online, GIS, and it is all private property owned by the Bridgehampton Tennis Club, subject, of course, to the trustee easement, which also shows on GIS. There was a question, this was something that Joe and I discussed, about the ability of the trustees to permit at all in this particular area, due to the fact that the easement created by the Dongan patent was essentially one in that easement for, getting crabs and shells, things of that nature. And I didn't see that necessarily as being enough to overcome private ownership interest. But if the trustees were to decide, based on what I think you'll hear from Joe today, that you can permit this property, it might be appropriate, given the fact that they're a commercial entity that exists, to have events, unlike private people doing individual events at a place like Circle Beach, which the trustees clearly own. That may be a code amendment with a provision for a season-long permit just for places like the Bridgehampton Tennis Club that have regular events, so they don't have to keep coming and having more papers processed by the office, permit by permit.
Thank you, Mark. Joe, do you want to weigh in, or Lisa, or Bill?
Well, I'd like to. The easement that we have is one that is absolute, and it was recognized by the Court of Appeals in the Betts decision, and it's more than just going for crabs and seaweed. It's an absolute passage right between the crest of the primary dune to the mean high water mark. The public always has a right of access from the mean high water mark seaward, but this is an inviolate easement that we have. So under the law, an easement creates two estates on the piece of property. There's a dominant estate, which is the easement holder, i.e. us, and the servient estate, who has to maintain and open that passage for the dominant estate, i.e. the owner of the property. Requiring them to have a permit for each function also allows for there to be adequate control for other town agencies. For example, if there are fireworks that are contemplated, it could just be a wedding ceremony, but it could be more than just a wedding ceremony. Well, the fire marshal has to sign off on any fireworks, and if we're in a drought condition, they usually are very strict about not giving out permits. There are other possible considerations as well. I don't think it's such a burden. They're a commercial activity. They can certainly pass on the cost of every permit, but the oversight that the permit gives us and town agencies is something that we shouldn't lose by just giving out a blanket permit and they do whatever they want. And also from experience, when we give out licenses, a lot of time the person then, begin to think in a proprietary sort of way that they own certain things. And that's a proper, and the permit itself is a property right. I would caution against it. I don't think it's burdensome for them to get a permit for each individual one.
I do have one question, being that we run the endangered species, the plovers and least terns, there's sea breach amaranth there, and would it be, if we were going to give a blanket permit like this, there'd be much less oversight, am I correct, James, on the endangered species? And if something was to happen to them, we would be, being that we run the program, we would be actually first in line for any, fines or anything. And also, the way the law is written, I believe it's the property that should be doing the endangered species, not the trustees, but we've taken it upon ourselves because of the easement. So it would be burdensome on the Bath and Tennis Surf Club to do this program on its own, to employ stewards and actually have the paperwork and all the, and, so, but we know in past practices that these entities kind of like, look the other way when the plovers are there.
They'll put in as much effort until they lose money, and then all of a sudden the blind eye will be turned because the profit motive will overcome it all.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of merit to what Trustee Warner is saying, because I believe the law states that it's incumbent upon the landowner and the regulatory authority. And I think in the interest of maintaining integrity in the program, because if you're gonna run a program without integrity, what's the point?
Yeah.
So you want to maintain integrity, and at the same time, you want to maintain maximum public access in compliance with all of this. So, we have to keep a handle on it.
Which we
Right.
do because of
And-
our program, the way we
Correct.
run it. If we send our environmental analysts down there, or one of the coastal stewards, and we find that there are birds there, we close that area. And we time out the time, the incubation of the eggs hatch, they fledge, so then we reopen it. So we actually have a plan in action which has been functional for 16 years I've been on this board, so, and it's worked very well. And people come to us asking us for guidance in some of their programs.
I think we should maintain
And I think
consistency.
James has mentioned that in the last 5 years, I believe we did have an estimate. So, James,
James, do you want to weigh in?
Close enough that,
It would have affected it.
regulations within the area.
Okay. Just to be clear, from my understanding, the request was not for the wedding party, it was just for the ceremony. But I understand all of your concerns. Bill, did you want to weigh in?
No, I kind of agree with Joe. I think once you give up oversight and let them oversee themselves, it's subject to problems.
Agreed. And Lisa, do you want to weigh in from the point of view of the office?
I mean, it's paperwork for us, but that's what I do, so I don't have a problem with it. But yeah, you have to have that, even just setting up chairs and whatnot, just for a ceremony, they're not looking for the birds, and I'm kind of with James and Joe. It wouldn't be, I mean, it is a lot of work, but hey, that's part of my job.
And to address, Mark, your concern about the difference in hierarchy of easement, has this been addressed by?
Well, it has if, I believe Ms. Lombardo's done a good job of addressing it. On that limited issue, I don't share his opinion, but all the other points I think the trustees have brought up are quite relevant.
All right, so I think relative to that, we should maintain consistency in what we do. I think that would make sense.
I will
Yeah,
let-
because there will be other entities that are gonna ask for the same thing. And what we've done in the past is come up with a, beach event permitting process in our office over, I would say, almost a decade, and, it's starting to work very well, and it has consistency with it over this time, and I think that's what we want as a board, is consistency moving forward.
That's correct.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly fine tune the program. We have the intention of one of these in the near future of doing that. But for the time being, it's not broke. I think we just need to leave it as is.
So to reply to the Bridgehampton Surf and Racquet Club, are you happy to do a reply?
In this case, I may not be the best person to reply. You
Maybe
may
Jim.
want, in this
I'll be happy
instance,
to do it.
given Joe's
Okay.
opinion,
I
and how
think-
it differs from
I
mine.
think Mark and the town's opinion is a little bit different than our special attorney's opinion, so I think I'd rather defer to Joe and our special counsel to have them do the reply.
Okay,
Be
maybe
happy
you
to
could
do it.
just run it
I'll give
past
you
us
his, I'll
before.
give you Mr.
Contact
Gordon.
us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe you could just run it past us, Joe,
Oh,
before you
absolutely.
send it? That would
I'll have it
be
drafted for you tomorrow, and I'll put it in your mailboxes.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you, Special Counsel Lombardo. Okay, conclusion of the discussion that we've had on the work session, move right on to general permit determinations. I have one on for 3 Harbor Lane. I see Mr. Billy Mack is here. It is a first coastal application. Are you up to speed on this one, or is this Aaron?
No, I'm pretty up to speed, I think.
Hey, Billy Mack.
How's everybody doing?
Good,
Billy, happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Billy Mack, First Coastal, for the applicant.
You got a few of these on here. I'm almost feeling like while you're here, we should just blow through the ones that you have. I
At
mean,
your mercy, whatever
rest of the board's thoughts are on that. I just
You'd be nice to him.
Fine.
want to be efficient.
Yes.
I
You know?
can go as
Yeah.
quick as, or
We got
slow,
4 of 'em
as
on.
you all want.
Yeah, just want to be efficient. So you want to reconstruct in place approximately 251 feet of existing bulkhead,
Yes.
214 square feet of existing wood ramp, 138 square feet of existing wood walkway, and approximately 61 square feet of existing wood deck. Increase top elevation of bulkhead, ramp, walkway, and deck by 18 inches. You want to do 100 cubic yards of clean sand fill within 10 feet landward of the bulkhead as a buffer, and plant with beach grass 12 inches in the center.
Correct.
So, you're familiar with this location? Oh, James, you want to put some pictures up
There
here?
you go. Yeah, it's a very old bulkhead.
Right.
It's got a slip that's incorporated inside of it, with some, a couple of decking sections that are not too much. And it's, you know, it's in need of repair.
It's
time.
in need of repair, but, you know, I don't agree with the 18-inch rise. I don't see how you're going to benefit from that with the ramp there based on the way the total topography is of this property and how the house is situated. I could see going with like half of that because you'll be matching to the adjoining properties. But if you actually get on site and take a look at the rack line, you've got a lot of water that's coming straight up through that boat ramp. So even if you raise it by that much, you're still gonna have all that water funneling in. Here, take a look. See where the rack line is?
Uh-huh.
You're running all the way up to there,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's coming straight up through the boat ramp. See, take a look at this.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So if you come up 18, I think you may create more of a problem than a solution.
That's the neighbors.
Yeah, so if you come up like 9, match the neighbor, you see that gap? If you match the neighbor, you know, buffer it nicely, you're still gonna have water coming up on this property when you have the high tides because of the boat ramp.
Yeah.
So I don't see that, you know,
Well, we did show some, you can see there, yeah, there's the.
it
rack
goes,
line.
you see the rack line, but you
Yeah.
see the way the house is then goes a lot higher.
Yeah.
So I don't think that, it's not gonna solve your problem, because the boat ramp's just gonna let that water be the pinch point where it enters the property, which it is right now.
And elevating the bulkhead, it's gonna be almost like capturing the water, so not allowing it to go back into the bay where, where it came from, so it's, it's gonna really change the whole environment unless you bring a lot of fill in there and raise up that whole entire area.
Well, we are proposing to dredge the slip that's there right now and use that as backfill behind the bulkhead.
But you can, yeah, but that's a ramp. You know what I mean?
Well,
That's,
yeah, the slip part that goes from a ramp to a slip.
yeah.
So we're gonna bring everything up, ideally 18 inches, because that's, well, I honestly believe that's what's needed. This is low tide. High tide, the water's over the bulkhead.
What
Yeah.
is, what is the ramp made out of?
It's all wood.
It's wood, so I could see the 9, you know what I mean? I could see 9 based on the conditions there, but 18, I just don't see how you're gonna,
Well, I think, this is one of these things that we're trying to get ahead of with respect to any new bulkhead that we're building should factor sea level rise, which is a given fact at this point.
it is, but it's gonna sea level rise right up the boat ramp.
What are you protecting, though?
It's gonna be right up the boat
Well,
ramp.
What do you-
eventually, this land, as in others, will get redeveloped and they'll backfill behind it to accommodate.
Yeah, but you have a
the bulkhead.
long buffer area and a long, gradually sloping lawn, which would accommodate any sea level rise for many years. It's not like you have a bulkhead where you want to raise it up, the house is directly in back of it, or there's structures or swimming pools where you'd be protecting the actual structure. You have a bulkhead now, and you have, it looks like about 80 or 90 feet of lawn there, which has a gradual slope, which is going to, do the mitigation as far as wave energy and flooding. That area is going to be the thing that mitigates it most. Raising the bulkhead up, it's just going to come around it, up the launching ramp, and flood it anyhow.
I'm also,
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm also questioning, if there's 251 linear feet of bulkhead, the need for 251 feet of wood decking to go along it.
Oh, it's just
Because-
that one section on the right-hand side of the slip. That's the only decking. And that's been there forever. So it's, I don't know, is there a
Okay.
dimension on that?
There's this piece.
46 feet by 3 feet.
Okay,
Yeah, it's,
So-
the hash mark is just the area, disturbed area that will be
Okay.
backfilled.
so what I'm also seeing though
Mm-hmm.
is that I'm looking for the language in relationship to the buffer behind the bulkhead.
Okay, so that's, right in there.
Okay.
10-foot wide buffer area to be planted with beach grass, 12 inches
Okay,
on set.
Yeah, it's on this cover sheet.
okay, all right, good.
I just,
But then here's my other question.
Uh-huh.
So this is a fair amount of bulkhead.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if your client would be open to the possibility of a pilot project here with a permeable reactive barrier instituted behind this bulkhead.
Likely.
We're starting to move
Yeah.
towards that, and it's being done as pilot projects in other areas. This would be one of the first in a residential setting.
Yeah.
So I
I'd
don't
be
know,
encouraged
but
to encourage the property owner to do that, and happy to.
but you would have to make the determination of where the flows, there's a lot of work that's gotta be done
So-
ahead of that.
so-
moving parts, right?
So Cornell Cooperative Extension, Marine Division, who have done quite a lot of work on that, said that they would be very open to having a discussion when we find situations where this might be a good,
Yeah,
and that's a phone call.
yeah,
to
I
them.
reached out to them a couple of years ago to ask for kind of specifications that we can incorporate in almost all of our bulkheads. I know at the time they weren't, they didn't have specifications that they were willing to share.
They're
Maybe they
rolling.
do now.
Yeah,
So you wanna put this on hold? You can now make that phone call, see if
I
they can.
prefer not to with respect to that. This is, these
Well,
guys.
I think it's more complicated than that, because it's putting, test wells and determine the groundwater flow in the area. So I
very
think
expensive.
a process of more than just a bulkhead permit. I think it's a year of the test wells being there, determining the
Well, it-
water flow.
Well, you have to
and
determine if it's
then-
gonna work.
And then to see if it's
I mean, I'm
actually,
open to
I mean,
experimenting.
if the
I don't know
water
if this
is,
is the project to do it on, but I'm
Well, but that's what we're
absolutely
talking
open to
about right now.
experiment. Yeah.
So I think a phone call, because Ron Paulson and Molly Graffam have a fair amount of
And I've
just
talked to Ron
innate,
about this
right,
quite a bit.
knowledge, and I think a phone call would give us a bit more information, whether this is a good idea or not even. I'm just looking at the linear feet,
Right.
and that this is a really healthy, for the most part, water body, so,
Okay.
but if not,
I'm open to that option. I don't want it to delay this.
No,
The
understood.
applicant's,
Well, how's, you know?
a phone call,
not gonna not, right.
a phone
I'm
call.
happy to
Well,
have.
that's,
a phone
well,
call.
we'd have to hold it for now then, for you to
That's
make a
true.
phone
Well, how
call.
about this? We get the permit and I modify to accommodate whatever Ron suggests.
Well,
That could be dangerous.
yeah, I
let's,
think that's dangerous. I think,
let's-
I think holding it, allowing you to make a phone call, at least make the inquiry to see what needs to be done, and then come back at the next meeting and say, I had this conversation. They think it would be a year, or it's something that could be done part and parcel with the project.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if the applicant's willing to hold the application over
Right.
for that.
Or
That-
until,
I don't know.
until next work
So,
session.
Okay.
can we just back up for a
It's
second?
gonna have to go to the next work session
Yeah.
anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Stamp plans, but also, are you gonna change it to 9 inches
Well,
or 18 inches?
Yeah, that's all,
Yeah,
okay.
let's
I just want to back
talk
up
about
for a
that.
second. Let's just
Sorry,
back up.
I didn't mean to go.
No, it's all right, it's all right. Everybody gets excited about this stuff. It's, you know, let's just back up for a second. So, looked at, I'm looking at it, boots on the ground, let's take a look. It's got to be done, I get it. I'm with you. I don't want to mess with the adjoining property owners, and, I understand sea level rise, I want to accommodate that, but it's going to come right up that ramp, you know what I mean? That water's going to have to go somewhere, and, I
Well, we are
think,
proposing to take the ramp elevation also up 18 inches. So that whole back side comes up
right,
18
but
inches.
you know what, I don't,
And I get, Ed's thought was
It's-
that no matter what, it's
it's-
gonna get flooded because there's a low section behind it.
well, and the adjoining property, it's gonna come up the ramp, it's gonna come up the adjoining properties, and that's why when we went there and looked at it and took measurements and kind of looked what you wanted to do, it seemed as though, based on just studying it, being boots on the ground and looking at everything, if you did come up, what came up more that 9-10 inch, brought it that way with what you had, with the way it does bump up where the house is, it looked like it would alleviate a lot of the issues, and like Trustee Warner was saying, the house is built quite high and up and back. So, even if the water does come up through the boat ramp and whatever under those scenarios, I don't think the house is gonna be in danger if you take a look at where that rack line is. So, sometimes it's like,
No, I
maybe we're
get it.
going too far, you know what I mean? I don't wanna go too far, I wanna resolve the issue reasonably without going too far. And then when we spent the time there looking at it,
I get it, and it can be a very subjective thing. I mean, right now, our only reference is the neighbor's height of their bulkhead. And if that was,
well, we were looking at that and the rack line relative to the house, you know what I mean? So when you have quite a substantial rack line, it does indicate what's going on there, and you can kind of see, looking at the adjoining properties and seeing where it is on this property. And, I get it, I want to work with you on this, and I want to make those adjustments to accommodate what your concerns are. I just don't want to, overkill it and create some issue, that's all.
The other way to look at it would be to put in a low sill bulkhead and let it flood.
yeah, I don't know if the owner would be willing to do that.
Just a thought.
Understood.
You have a lot of material that's gonna end up in the bay if you do that.
I'm not for that, but
It's the 65 cliff again.
yes, I think, I get what you want to do, I understand, I went down there and I studied this. I want to resolve the issue. My concern is that, are we going too far relative to the total picture that's going on there? I want to get it right, not create a problem of unintended consequences if we go too far.
Well, I mean, you could tell, this entire property is bulkheaded, so any flood relief will be relieved off that southern portion of the property that is not bulkheaded. The idea of getting the bulkhead higher is to not only to get the floodwaters reduced that overtop it during spring high tides or normal storm high tides, it's also to mitigate the wave erosion that happens during storm events once they crest the bulkhead. At a low bulkhead, even if it's 6 to 8 inches higher, the wave energy will still crest over the top and do land erosion landward of the bulkhead. It is critical that we get these bulkheads up higher
What's
and
the
protect.
fetch? What's the fetch here?
You do have an odd fetch. It comes in from the,
back to the
Because
picture,
really, this
James.
is
from the
tucked,
south.
this
Yeah.
is tucked in.
It is tucked in.
You do get wave energy that comes straight out of Shinnecock Bay there.
Yeah, south.
Well, not that, this
Not
is
heavy.
tucked further down the creek. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's tucked further down the creek, this one.
Not heavy at all, but it does happen.
I don't have a problem with raising it. I just think that if we go to 18, it seems like it is tucked in. It seems like it's a bit much. And when I went down there and just threw the tape measure on it, looked at the rack line, looked at the adjoining property, walked it, spent some time doing, a boots on the ground analysis, it looked to me like a 9 to 10 inch raise made sense. And when I take my tape measure up to 18 and I start to look around and everything else, and try and figure out how that topography is going to work out with everything else around it. It just seemed like we're picking this number of 18,
Right.
and the reason why we picked the number of 18 is because the state gives you this broad brush
Right.
of up to 18, but I don't think that it's the right
I mean,
fit for the property. I do agree with raising it, I just don't think that based on,
Let me ask you, I'll ask everybody, during the storm that we had at Christmas where the tides were extremely high and there was a lot of wave energy in the area, was there any excessive damage to the property? Erosion
You can
damage?
see landward of the bulkhead, there is some soil loss. Absolutely.
Is it a lot of soil loss or
Yeah,
is it?
it's a little bit of
and
a
you
story.
can see the rack line. We
No,
were there.
Yeah.
The rock line's one thing, but it is literally wave energy on the bulkhead.
I mean, I didn't see
Because
soil
it's
loss.
tripping it.
Yeah, I did not see soil loss there when
So-
I was there. I did see the big rack line.
So here's another thought.
Uh-huh.
Another pilot project that's being done or being discussed is a living shoreline in front of the bulkhead to mitigate wave.
I just want to point something
wave
out.
energy against the bulkhead.
Right. I just want to point something out to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
If you look to the property, I guess it's to the north, you see that white, the neighbor's property.
Mm-hmm.
You see that white, they keep moving that cursor. That was a fender, right, James? You know what I mean? So water came, came way up. I mean, the rack line from that, super tide that we had December 23rd or whatever the date was, brought that pretty far up there. You know what I mean? So it didn't get to the house. The house is high. You should raise it, but I just think that, maybe we need to take a look at what that number really is instead of just broad brush going with the maximum limit that the state puts on their side of it. That's all I'm saying, Billy Mack.
To review that. One thing we have to also keep in mind, the bulkheads that we're building nowadays are lasting over 50 years.
Right.
And we have to envision this property 50 years from now. There'll likely be an upland development, I don't know, maybe a renovation of the house or
Right.
something. That
Probably.
may include some additional either lifting or fill that
Right.
would almost
We-
eliminate the issue that.
Right, but we got a lot of time, 50 years, I get it, it's a blinking of an eye, you know what I mean? I was running around here in elementary school, and now I'm heading for 60 myself, but, I get what you're saying, and I do agree, you do need to raise, we need to, this property needs, but I just, to go on our permit, just to broad brush to match the state's
Okay,
permit,
How about if we say this? How about if we say 12 inches? As opposed to the 18? It will be a little bit higher than the neighbors, and I think that will, I know that this property owner was very adamant about going as high as we can.
I
He
get
asked me
it, which is
for
why,
2 feet.
I went there and spent a lot of time looking at it. I brought my tape measure, I brought my environmental analyst there. We took a hard look at it and said, yeah, it's gotta come up, but we gotta get this number right so it works, you know what I mean?
James, do you want to weigh in since you were at the site?
Well, I agree with Scott. I mean, we talked about this, and their bulkhead was at 9 inches above, and I mean, it shows spring high water well below existing. So if you're going up to proposed at 18, I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. So
James, what kind of grasses are currently behind the bulkhead?
It's just grass.
It's just grass.
It's long.
Right, so if you put that buffer in, I think if you roll with the 9-10 like we put it on there, you do a nice buffer behind that, do your program, just get it adjusted right. I think that for the next 50, I think you're in good shape. Gigantic Category 4 storm, all bets are off no matter what you do. But I think that, and the fact that the house does bump up and it's going up there high, I don't know, I think.
But Scott, on the south side of this property, it's not bulkheaded. So if you got a severe storm, it's
Coming
coming
there
out
anyway.
flank.
It's coming.
You're not gonna really solve anything,
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So if he goes to match this over here.
Yeah,
And does his thing with the nice buffer, I think
Yes.
he's got a better thing, but I think if you go another 9 beyond that, I think it's like a false sense of security he's gonna have. I
it's
think,
gonna create a hollow, it's gonna create like a swale between the house and the bulkhead, and that water's gonna pond and puddle there, and it's gonna stay there, and then it's gonna be another problem.
right. I don't,
Well, I don't know what their future plans are, but I know they wanted to go as high as possible.
Right.
with the bulkhead.
But the house was not in harm of this last storm, and I don't think it was in harm during Sandy. If there's an issue with the house should be raised, and this property should remain pretty much in the same state it is now. Raising it 9 inches is gonna allow you to ensure a 4-inch lip, which will reduce the sheet runoff from, heavy rains. But raising it even higher, it's gonna pitch it back the other way, and I think it's gonna be problematic, and I don't think it's gonna protect the house or the upland property, because it's gonna get outflanked.
I mean,
Okay.
that's, we spent a lot of time there looking at this, and we're not fighting you on raising it at all, Billy Mack. We wanted, because we're looking at the adjoining property, we're just trying to find a reasonable, number that will solve the issue.
Instead of the 18, can we say 12? Because I know that this property owner was specifically adamant. They've been here, this is their, I don't know, third generation owning this house in the same family. So they live this property, and they every day say, we wish we could have this bulkhead higher. And I know that 18 doesn't sound like it's even on the.
I don't see that as really, just picture that bulkhead. You see the bulkhead, the neighbor? Picture another 9 inches higher than that. Take that right there. I don't know if you can zoom in on that, but take that and then go 9 inches beyond that. You move that
Well,
over.
that's about 8 now,
So that,
we go another 4 above that.
but even look at that compared to what you got going on
Yeah,
next
but the
door.
adjoining property, the grass is still green, and the other property that we're talking about is brown from where it flooded.
Right.
So if you raise it the same height, evidently the higher property to the north didn't get as flooded as this property did. So it'd be almost balancing the shore frontage of all the
that's-
properties. It's, no one has more, no one has less.
That's what we were trying to do when we went there. We were like, you know what, we agree, this can come up, but let's get the number right, and we did exactly what you just did. We looked at that adjoining property, looked at the situation, and said, all right, look, I get it. This looks like it will work out with what your plan is. If we go beyond it, it looks like we're going too far. So I know everybody wants to get the max they can get us like a negotiation. We're trying to just get it to where it makes sense, you know what I mean? Where you're going up, and I think it's gonna be a dramatic difference on the property.
I'm sure that the property owner next door will, in the next 10 years, come to you guys for a bulkhead redo, and he's gonna ask for the same thing. So we're gonna be.
Well, let's look at that. I mean, is there,
And I know that property, and I know the property owner, and
Right.
we were involved in that dock 20 years ago.
right, so is there a picture, you know, James, is there another angle of the neighbor's bulkhead that picks up the condition of that, or?
You know, I mean, he's got lawn all the way down to the edge. What
Well,
most
people
do
are-
in there,
People are in violation of their permits. Everyone comes and says, oh, you know, we're gonna do this, and then they do what they
Well, I
want.
don't know, I mean, that bulkhead's ancient.
Well, but still, I mean, you
I
know,
don't know if it had the condition on it.
Yeah, but the
that
southerly
was
side is, there's no protection there, so the water's just gonna come around it.
Right.
You're making a
But you can
almost
see
a-
that little scour that I'm talking about from the wave tripping.
Yeah,
That's right there. So, you know, when storms come, they do take a little soil with them.
yeah, the bulkhead shot, there's no doubt this has to be done, Billy.
Um,
There's no doubt. It's just that, you know, going from,
As opposed to the 10 inches that you're suggesting, how about 12? And
where
I
did we go to
bet you-
10? I thought I said 9.
9 inches.
Say 9 to 10.
We measured,
I would like to stick with the 9.
All right, anybody else have an opinion?
I feel comfortable with the 9 inches because the whole property is not protected by a bulkhead, and you don't have any structure directly behind it that's gonna be affected by a storm surge, or you have a lot of lawn that can mitigate wave energy and flooding, and the house is elevated, so I don't see any need for a bulkhead higher than what Scott and James are talking about. I think 9 inches would serve raising the property up slightly and, you know, giving them a new bulkhead where you don't have to worry about any, you know, damage from bulkhead failure. See, I mean, that property's all nice and green next door.
All right, in the interest of moving things along, I'll suggest to the property owner 9-inch rise, see what they say. I'll also bring up the PRVs.
I think people have to have an understanding of the fact that there's a difference in the manner by which the trustees handle this versus the way the state does. The state's got that,
They almost have a Band-Aid that they have.
right, they got a broad brush, but when you have a conversation with them and you say, well, how's it, well, no, you guys control that locally. You're looking at your local conditions and they gotta comply with all permits. So out of respect for you and, you know, and the, you know, the applicant, we went down there and we spent a lot of time looking at this to try and figure out how do we, you know, work with you to get this thing done where we're not going too far. And I think,
And the
I
state
have a
also
question.
allows hoarding structures in some of the villages where we no longer have jurisdiction, where we would say no and come up with a better plan. So I think we should stick with our guns. Right?
you gotta, we'll clarify on the Ocean Beach,
Yeah,
on the
I know,
jurisdiction side.
but,
That's on the Ocean Beach.
but we had, yeah, I'm not gonna go there. I'm
Yeah,
gonna be-
that's a different conversation, but he has a
Thank you,
question.
Billy.
Thank you, Billy.
Thank you.
He has a
On
question.
the two neighbors on either side,
Uh-huh.
you said they're gonna be in for bulkheads.
Well, this guy specifically, I didn't, the guy to the south, I don't know him.
Maybe you could check with them, maybe go up all at one time.
Yeah, I don't know that.
Maybe then you get your
property
12
at
inches or
all.
14 inches if they all, if both of them go up,
Yeah.
all three of them.
You're forgetting that there's that section that's not.
Not-
Yeah,
that's
but
not-
that's a good, you know, natural relief area.
Exactly.
It is.
I think that your plan is a fine plan. I just think that
Okay.
adjusting to the site-specific, you know, looking at what's going on in the adjoining properties and taking into consideration the elevation of the house,
Okay.
I
How
think
about
you're in good
this? Again, the issues move things along. If I get the property owner to be okay with 9 inches and we bring engineered plans showing the 9 inches, can it be advanced?
yeah, I'm good with that. I don't know.
It has to be on the next work.
Yeah, it's gotta be on next work session, but we can move.
Review
Yeah, yes.
the stamp plans.
Right, so we gotta move,
All right.
we could
But if we
We
do
can
the
agree.
9-inch and get the stamp plans by next thing, then that's. fine.
Right, then you're on your way to the next step versus you're calling about permeable reactive barriers.
No, you're still
re-engineer.
calling, you're
I'm gonna
still
still
calling.
call
Well,
them
no,
on
I
that.
get it,
Yeah,
but-
If
Yeah.
they're willing to go forward, then we'll do that.
That'd be awesome.
Absolutely.
Look, if the flows, if it makes sense that it's gonna do the job it's supposed to do based on the
That's
inflows,
the
by all
call.
means.
That's the
Yeah.
phone call.
Yeah,
That's
by
it.
all means, if they have
Yeah, and
that.
I'm hoping, Ron has gotten to the point where he's got a kind of like a template, like, okay, this is what you want to do. And I've worked with him on this years ago, so I'd love to see that progress.
Oh, he's on top of his game.
Yeah.
Coupling it with the sanctuaries that we have with the college, Cornell, and the Governor's Clean Water Task Force, which is just outside of this, would be a wonderful thing. We're doing, the local residents are buying in for the whole,
Yeah.
project.
Yeah, just to the south of this
Yep.
area is where we have our major sanctuary.
Yep.
Right.
So I think if we could get something like that, it'd be a good project.
Yeah, and just so people know, the PBRs are, they're like filtration systems from the upland water into the area that can kind of filter out some of the negative stuff that we want.
All right, so we're good with this plan that we had of advancing subject to your clients
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
and your stamp.
Stamp plans. and
Plans.
Updated cover sheet.
That's a subject, okay. While you're there, let's just clear right through your stuff here.
Okay.
45 Ram Island Drive.
Yes, that's a renewal.
No changes?
No changes at all.
What's it for?
It's a bulkhead reconstruction that's over on Ram Island where there's a boathouse and
So it's a partial.
yeah.
It's,
Trustee Powell?
I work for the people, but I think I can make a decision. It's basically the same plan what it
it's
was.
just a renewal. I
Just renewal.
I just didn't
Well,
remember it.
it's,
that's
yeah.
all.
it's
Is
not
it
a
a renewal?
renewal. I
It's-
think it expired.
It's expired.
They had to
So
submit a new
it's-
application.
Yeah, but it has nothing changed.
It's the same as what would have renewed if they got it in on time?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they did get caught. The Bay Constable actually did stop them, and they stopped work
Right away.
right away.
Yeah, actually what happened was, so everybody knows, we sent in a commencement notice, started the work, and we had a issue with the pilings being delayed for delivery. So, once we got the pilings, we resumed, didn't realize that the permit had expired, stopped work, and we're back here.
And then there's some greenwood, what he's gonna remove.
Yeah, there's some
Treated board.
non-compliant issues that are being resolved at the same time.
Just clean it up.
So you're good?
I'm good with it.
Okay.
And I don't know if you want to keep going.
Yeah, I
down
do.
this
Let's get your
lovely
stuff
list.
done.
74 Point Mecox.
That's InterScience.
No, it's,
No, up to
351?
351 Bridge Lane.
351 Bridge. This is the
Oh,
one
sorry,
we go
sorry.
back and forth with respect to that catwalk that goes out into Sag Pond. And we pulled that back substantially, and I think you guys were happy with this last revision that we had,
It now projects approximately 35 feet
35 feet.
into the pond.
Yeah, a little bit less off the shoreline, but if you measure from the shoreline, but 35 feet from the turning point.
And this
Which is what we
seemed to
have
be
right
more in keeping with other docks.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of
That
tucked
in
in
the
now
character. Yeah,
at this little section.
yeah, keeping the
So
character.
it's a pretty simple project.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's sort of in that little cove or one
Doesn't
of,
stick,
one
it
of the
doesn't
little
stick out
coves.
like it
Yeah.
originally
No.
We're attempting
proposed.
to get the 2.5 feet.
Yeah,
We also decided we're scaling that back.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, so I'm okay with this to move forward if
We
you
just
guys
need
are.
Stamp plan, so
Stamp
advanced
plans.
subject.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you have one of trustee Parrish's 541.
541 Main Street in Queog.
Mm-hmm.
This has been on a
Busy
few
day, Bill.
times.
Busy day. Yes, this is bulkhead reconstruction, and I think the hangup we had last time was the neighbor was concerned about their access
The easement, the
on
walk-on
their
easement.
easement,
Yeah, and
and we have resolved that.
you move the bulkhead return back 9 feet.
Mm-hmm. And we met with the property owner, the adjacent property owner who has a legal easement over that corner of the bulkhead to a dock that is permitted.
So essentially, they moved this, they originally proposed the new bulkhead, or the reconstruction of the bulkhead here. They moved it to the other side of the dock, which is on the other side of the easement, so that
Shorten the
it doesn't
bulkhead.
block the right-of-way for
Yeah.
the neighbors.
It would have created a step for them.
Yeah.
So rather than create the step, we just push the return back.
So is there a natural shoreline then, where the
There is a
right-of-way
natural
is?
shoreline right there, exactly right.
Okay,
Yep. And they launch, boats and stuff from that.
okay.
I'm good with that. Everyone else is?
Yep.
And that's good, that's stamp plans, so that can advance completely.
Okay. 528.
528, 528 Dune Road, West Hampton Beach. Here you're proposing to construct a new 4-foot by 48 feet catwalk pier. No treated wood to be used, open grade material to be used for catwalk, pier decking, and stairs. We have an issue with the length of the dock.
Yeah, this is well over the,
Pier line?
100-foot.
You're looking for 148 feet.
James, can you zoom in just a bit? Where are we as far as water depth? That's difficult to see. Thank you.
I think we scaled that back to 100 feet. The latest plan.
So this is
So we don't have
for,
the latest plan we're looking at?
Yeah, this is the latest
Oh,
plan.
I'm sorry.
Hold it back to 100.
James, do
You
you have the
did?
latest
Yeah.
plan?
wait, what's the date?
No,
on it, Bill?
No, it's the same.
Revision was 10th, March
10th of
10th.
March 10th. James, the one you're looking at's June 10th, I think. So it's, the most current one is 100 feet?
Yeah.
I don't have that.
Because-
We don't have it?
We don't.
We need,
Can you check the,
Yeah, that was mailed to you guys March 10th. I think it's to hand.
You have it, Bill?
The 20th.
There it is.
March 6th, don't have it.
So this,
Billy,
just
let me
to
just look at
just to
your-
continue
Yeah.
the conversation, this,
That's the same one.
this now fits the pier line, and this is for kayaks or paddle boards,
Pretty
right?
much, yeah. Yeah,
So-
I won't, swimming.
Do you have some steps at the end of it?
Steps
Yeah.
are.
yeah, see that?
Okay.
It's got steps.
It's identical to the next door neighbor, except for that one has a float. It's the same
tenth
depth of water and,
do you have anything in there, Bill?
Mhm.
I don't
No.
think we
So
received
that's,
that.
that's good for
March 6th
kayaks
is
and
the
paddle.
most
it's
recent one
one,
we have.
it's 1
If
foot
you
of
pull it
water.
back 100 feet, yeah, it's 1 foot of water.
And if you went all the way,
At
yeah.
100 feet, we make it basically to 100, to
Did
1
we-
foot.
Did we need an advisory
It's
letter for this?
I think it's mostly on our property. No, we don't. No, we don't.
Okay.
No,
I couldn't
Nope.
see.
no, definitely not. Not for this one.
Yeah, this is,
Oh,
we pulled
village.
it back to the 100 feet,
Yeah.
make it
Yep.
very
There
simple.
it is. There's the steps,
Okay.
there's the under the dock. It's the same depth of water as the
Nothing in there, Bill, right?
properties.
Nope.
Looks like the same length, they're a little bit shorter.
Okay.
All right?
You want this
You
You're
copy?
almost just
Yeah,
about-
if you want to submit that one,
Yes.
where we can
All right.
stamp it, that would, and as long as the board's okay with that.
And right ahead of you, you're almost at 1.5, so, I mean, that's even good for a paddle, foot
I'll
paddle
let
kayak.
James
so.
look at it quickly. and-
Okay,
Well,
you
the
got it,
adjoining
Billy.
docks are about the same
Get
depth.
the okay from
and the same
Jim.
length.
So you good, trustee Parrish?
Yeah, if it's
Meet the blue
Give
book,
that to
the
James?
blue book.
I'm gonna give that to him.
Yeah, you have that too, Bill? I'm not sure. But I'll
You
give
can,
this-
you can take a look and
Yeah.
and then I'll
All
stamp it.
yours.
And you have a cover sheet in there too?
Are they stamped plans, Billy, or are they just
They're not stamped.
revised
They're not-
plans?
they're
So,
not stamped.
Yes.
So we need a cover sheet.
If we're good
and
with that,
stamp plan.
we'll.
We have a cover sheet.
So you need-
The new one?
Yep.
You need these stamp plans?
Well, no, it
Which
still
one is
says
this, for Queog?
construct
No,
4
it's
by
for,
140 foot.
520.
So we need cover sheet,
528 Dune Road.
Dune Road. The
stamp
next one.
plans. We need everything.
Cover.
Yeah,
You mailed it to us?
yeah.
I'm gonna look right now. I have access.
All right.
You can keep this, Bill. I'll make sure that. you-
Pending having all the proper paperwork, everybody's good with this, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we're just looking for,
And it's
final
going right at
paperwork with
So
stamp
I
plans.
think that's all you have.
You have
Today,
one
right?
on,
Then I got. 6
general
Holly.
permit application, 6 Holly Lane.
Oh, you got another one.
Do that one for later.
That's, well, that's for determination.
That's just moving it
That's
forward.
just us checking your stamp plans. That's,
Yeah.
for determinations, I think you're done.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
See that? Saving everybody time here.
Thank you very much.
This is a nice one.
See you next time. Thanks, Billy.
The next one is Shannon Bradley, David Silverstein, 49 Water's Edge.
Yes.
Trustee Pell.
Come on up.
Hello.
How are you this morning?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Good. So it's definitely going to be a learning experience for me, because I've been here before.
Okay.
I do have the client, David Silverstein, and his wife are the owners of the property, and they also live in the cove where I live, so.
Can you sign in, please?
Sure. Not really sure what you're gonna ask.
Could
of
you
me.
describe right off the bat, what are you looking for? Because it's very vague what you,
Sure.
you-
In the application itself.
now what do you want a permit for?
Okay, so there's a bulkhead that exists, there's a wood retaining wall, there's a sand area, a ramp, a floating dock, and a wood walkway. I think, did I say retaining wall? Somewhat of a retaining wall. I did provide ahead of time in the application pictures and
Yeah, but
information.
what do you want, a new? you look-
Legalized.
Legalize.
Yeah, it already has existed for a very, very long time.
So the
I think
bulkheads
that's the debate.
is a big trouble, because we don't legalize,
I'm not, I'm not
it's
really.
pre-existing. You have to go back, see
So
how,
all of this work was done without permits? I'm sorry.
How long ago?
yeah, a long time ago. It's old.
That's the debate, is that,
You couldn't, did you find anything back in such,
okay, so I put a lot of time into trying to find out, so I could give you guys the correct answers
Good.
as far as the timeline.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
And, what I have here is probably the oldest piece of material. Cove was built in 1950, Southampton Cove, and the house was built in 1972. The homeowner that is the current owner bought the house in 2005. This stuff existed, there should be aerial photos, but we also have a stamped plan showing, oh boy, I don't want to let anybody have this because there's only one, it's the original and it's older.
Are these the house plans?
You know what, it's stamped, I'm having trouble myself reading who it's stamped by, but it's definitely stamped by the town. And what it is I want to find the right page. It is probably the building plans.
There's a bulkhead on the building plan?
There is. Everything that is in question is listed on here and was stamped by the town as accepted, but I have to leave it to your expertise and your review to see what I have here, because this is just,
So do you have the property owner's name of 1972?
I do. I have all of the information
And you
tracing
looked in our
back.
files for the property owner to see if we have a permit for any of these
I
structures?
did, and the problem, it's not that it's a problem, but what we need to have tell you guys decide for us is that there was a homeowner, only one homeowner prior to this. It went into an estate, and then the trustee sold it to my client. Growing up there, I know a lot about the property because I'm actually, my grandparents, it's their house in the Cove. I know of this house because they were their friends. As far as I can remember, and I'm 52, that did exist, but that's just me giving you my word. What I can tell you is that if you look back timeline, I did foils with everybody. I did a foil with you guys, I did a foil with the DEC. At first, I was given no information from the DEC. I received several emails saying, come to them with an appointment, which I did, sign up to do, and then they called me and said there wasn't enough information and canceled the appointment. I have that, I printed out that, email that the DEC had sent me. I just have so much information here, so bear with me. Then the foil with the Board of Trustees itself came up with nothing. But then yet now here I have something, I got information from the DEC saying that all the things listed in our application should remain. So I made copies because this is new. I was able to just get my hands on it. I made 3 copies and do apologize. I didn't know how many people would be here.
All right, so we've got to stamp something in here, right?
So I do want to provide, if I could.
You can send it to Lisa.
Yeah, she's
Okay.
stamping
She'll
it.
stamp it in.
In
And
your correspondence with the DEC, because they basically started their permitting process for bulkheads in 1976. Now, do they have any thing on file from this property from 76 to current?
They didn't. This was from 2008 from the current homeowner. He went to them and said, he had been through the Conservation Board, he had been before you guys, I believe, and he had been before the DEC. I don't mean before physically, but
What year was he in front of us? Because we can check the minutes.
no one has. That's the problem. I don't
Yeah.
think.
so what's leading you
Went through the
to
floor
make that
process.
statement? If there's no record of this.
Because I did the foil.
And it says he was before us, but there's nothing.
Because he represented to me that he had been, and thus forth, he's always provided me the best information possible.
We got
Do you-
nothing.
do you know what
What year?
time frame it was?
Now, he bought the property in 2005, I want to say, and this is just a guess, 2006, 2007, but I was hoping it was in your records.
It should be. if
It
you-
should,
The
but
thing that-
we could do a search on it,
search.
but we need some,
She did.
Time.
Because the bulkhead that you're presenting here is not that old of a bulkhead. I
No.
mean, in the scheme of bulkhead. It's probably from the 90s, right, Billy? It
Yeah.
looks- Because prior to that,
it looks like they had like 6 inches on top of it.
yeah, but I mean, it's treated lumber. I mean, it looks like treated lumber and it has, 4x4s or 6x6 pilings, so the use of dimensional lumber has not been,
Old.
that old, because they used to use regular pilings. So, I mean, I would,
I have no disagreement with any of that, I do agree just by looking at it, and I'm a
I
layman,
mean-
I would say the
I
same,
mean, so doing a search in our minutes of the property owner's name, would it be in, at the time, would it be in, specifically in his name? Would it possibly be in an LLC, which I would say probably not back
No.
then? I'm just trying to, or some.
The only thing, it could have been a bulkhead, they could have came and put new 6x6s in front of it, and new top ledger on it inside, and kept the same thing, but I doubt it.
And what I did is when I did the foil, I did list the prior, the original owner's name, the trustee who it went into. I listed as many people as I could as far as names. The one thing that I think that might exist is that this is on a corner property, not a corner, but like it's on an angle where you guys have an easement. And there's I think it's Robin, there's another street there. in the
Robin,
cove.
Robin,
Yeah,
Lane.
so back in the day,
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be like 2 trees to the left of.
Well, I mean, could the property address have changed? I mean, if it was
That's what I'm
subdivided.
wondering.
Yeah.
I mean, it does, yeah, I mean, it could have changed. So you definitely want to look at the tax map number if you're going to do a foil, not the property address. That
It
would,
was provided I provided as much information. I'm not trying
Yeah.
to shut everything down. I'm just
Yeah.
very forthcoming with all the effort I put into trying to find.
But at the tax map, if you went down there, the tax map, could do a search on it, could tell you if the name has changed on the
Yeah.
street.
Yeah, was, yeah. it
I
was-
mean, the certificate of occupancy listed as the same street, and that goes back to 1950. Then the certificate of occupancy, I apologize, that goes to 1972. The ownership of Oliver and when the subdivision, it's still listed as the same address. So I don't see, and tax map number. I don't know where it would have changed, but I was also, my way of thinking was that maybe there was something that existed. Either way, we really just need to know what we can do for this property owner, or what the board is allowed to suggest for us, what recommendations you have, because this is their home, they've been unable to live there. It's in disrepair now, the boardwalk, I provided, pictures, I don't know if you call it a
It's
boardwalk
pretty,
or a
needs a lot of
walkway.
work. With the-
And I just really, they're very willing to comply, and they always have been, if you look at the history. It's just that it's been so confusing, and even in a monetary manner, it's been a hardship. I mean, this is a young family that started out, had a child, tried to make this their family home, and have had nothing but denials along the way. They did purchase this property, if you look at the aerial photos, with this stuff in place. And from my opinion, that's an opinion, it's not a fact, but just from my looking at everything. Things may have been adjusted along the way, that could be because they're naive and maybe they did do a little updating on
Yeah, they
it.
should've got they should've got, this float is not that old.
No, the float is actually, I agree, I was
The
trying to figure out
float, the
if it's a
float
composite
is,
or.
I would say within 5 years,
Yeah.
because
Pay a
it's
$2,500
all the
fine to
plastic
the DEC.
pontoons,
And, yeah,
and they
Right.
just started to use them in the last 5 years.
But I think I see a request,
What,
well, that's what I
2007?
think, I know there was a request for that, so I'm just actually
See the pontoon plastic, so it's not, that's,
trying to figure out where they could go from here in a positive direction so they get back into their house. Because once we're done here, we have to go to conservation. Their house is in complete disrepair
Right, so
because.
They want to do work, yeah, I get it.
And they're not
Yeah.
looking to do anything major other than back in the day, this was like a solar, a glass, I don't know if you'd call that like a solar, I remember this house specifically. Glass that covered this area here. And the glass had like broken apart and the homeowner took it off, and that's, I think, where all this started. And so now it's just been open to the elements, they've closed it up as best they can now, and they can't even touch it.
This is why now, when people are purchasing, the homes,
They
they
got
want
title search.
certificates of occupancy,
Yeah.
certificates of compliance for everything, because you purchase,
Completely agreed,
right?
yes.
And I'm reading, they got $2,500 fine from the state DEC back in,
Yes.
prior to 2007, whatever it was,
Yeah,
for substantial reconstruction of a bulkhead without the benefit of the permit.
which was probably no permit from us
No.
either, so.
Well,
but
yeah,
it's kind of hard that someone put a bulkhead and none of the neighbors complained. Usually, someone complains.
well,
So it's hard to say that, it must be a permit for it somewhere, I would think.
and so we're having I've had so much trouble finding, and I.
Not necessarily.
Extent
Yeah.
of what I've looked into.
because they did it at a time when no one's around and
Yeah.
no one's looking. and-
Unless
That
they,
doesn't, well, I'm in that neighborhood, I live there now currently, 15 Cove Road,
Right.
and, to be honest with you, I walk my dogs all the time. There's no way there's anything going on in the cove that nobody
Well,
knows about, that should have been fixed
I
as
think
well.
now, people are a lot more sensitive, there's a lot more people here now, you're talking,
Overhead shot, like 20 years ago.
quite some time ago, I mean,
yeah, because
Can you
we
zoom
went
in?
round and around about this dock over here.
I mean, aerial photos would
Yeah.
help me greatly,
Billy?
because I can't do that
Isn't this the
myself.
dock that we had an issue with?
Yes.
With Fred?
Yes,
And this property was mentioned
yes.
during those minutes.
Because there was trouble, because the guy was complaining about him turning around.
Yes.
Or it could have been a neighbor on the other side.
Is there a new bulk or a new dock right on the adjoining property to the east, too?
Yes.
Should
is it-
have.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
It was
I
three,
don't know
was
if
three
it's
docks in a
new.
row.
Yeah, it's pretty new, because I
Correct.
remember, I think
Yeah.
Fred was here when we were doing this one. Yeah, there was an issue.
Well,
There was issues here.
we got a lot of work to do on this.
The only thing my thought would be is if the, well, the bulkhead is
How old is
pretty
that?
new, but the
is
original
the-
bulkhead,
2021,
Can you go back a couple of years?
about 2001.
Can you zoom in on that, or
There's no float there.
That's as far as I can go.
as far as you can go?
Yeah.
I need,
So then
I need
we would
better
have
glasses.
issue with a floating dock, and a float, I don't know what that is, it's a ramp.
And a bulkhead,
yeah.
and
It-
no buffer,
Yeah.
and
So the buffer was in after that. The retaining wall was put in.
questionable materials perhaps underneath the,
Can you go a couple of years after that?
before or after.
After that. I want to see when the float came, showed up.
84.
It's 84.
2008.
There's a float there.
2008.
That's 2008.
Okay.
And the float is, looks like now the float's moved over.
Well, because that's a total violation of our
Yeah.
regulations.
So, see what we're at now. So between 2000, can you go 2007?
Can you go to when you bought it?
2008.
possibly?
No, 2004.
Okay, there's no float. So between 2004 and 2008, the float. And what year did he buy it?
2005, he purchased it in 2005.
So he put the float in,
Okay,
because there's 2004 right there, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
There's no float.
And he didn't come for a permit.
He didn't come for a permit.
I feel like he did, that's what he's saying he did, but I feel like
Yeah.
you guys, I
We
don't,
have-
It
we
would
have
be,
no
in our-
record.
I
yeah.
We
mean,
have no
Yeah.
record.
I could double check with Stephanie to check the minutes.
But
she
she
does
is
usually a pretty
very
good job
thorough.
on finding anything.
you guys gave a
so-
denial, it was like a one-page, I think.
So-
It was like this.
Well, it
So
was
we-
no records were found.
But I don't have any record of it, like, it's, I don't
If
know
it's
if
a
that's even
denial,
what
it
it's
should
from.
be a folder in there with a denial on it.
No, she's saying the foil came up as a denial. like there's-
Right, and then
like,
no one could
they
find
couldn't-
any
There was nothing
paperwork.
found, that's what she's
Yeah.
saying,
And
not a
when-
But I
denial.
worked with them.
What year was this in?
This is between 2005 and 2008.
2000, I remember this being an issue with Fred, this whole dock.
Yeah,
This
And that
part-
was,
this
that
part-
was like in
There is
2010.
There's minute notes of this application.
Okay,
Because-
so we need to do
Because
some
of
more
the
research.
property on Robbins Lane and that dock.
Because of the way the area is
come up in
configured,
the
it's
FOIL
like a,
request?
it's a cup,
Yeah.
We need to
and
do,
it's,
we need to
everything is
take a look at
tight.
this.
and
We're worried
very-
about
Solve
The
it.
guys turning
surveys I
around.
provided you
Yes,
guys too, I
yes.
have a copy of the survey if you wanna see that. It's a little small, but you guys, I gave the original survey when I turned in my application. So I only printed myself a small one, but you're welcome to view it.
And I'm
if you-
pretty sure that Fred checked to see if that guy had a permit.
Yes,
He was very thorough about that.
I remember there being issues on this.
So if, and it's not if, so saying that there was nothing for the float or whatever we determine, how does one go about, like, let's, what do you advise, what can we do? What
Well,
can the homeowner
you wanna
do?
legalize what's there right now.
Correct. And I mean, I don't know what that report from the DEC means to you guys, because I just heard the prior case about the state versus the, jurisdiction with the Board of Trustees. I don't know if the jurisdiction would be the right wording, but, like, they said leave everything. So how many penalties should this gentleman pay, and how many, I'm sorry, or
Well,
what is
it's
your
bigger than that,
advice?
though. It's
Bigger than
bigger
that.
than that.
What's
It's,
better for the environment?
the prior conversations that you heard were relative to consistency and policy.
Right,
Okay,
And
so,
can
Okay.
permit.
so
What is that?
this is what was received, so application
That's it there,
denied,
that's what I-
2007.
correct. But that's the only paperwork to that.
Right.
So I don't even know what it was.
But we
So
can look
is-
that up in the minutes.
There would be minutes and discussion why
Right,
we
so-
denied it or approved the
Yeah.
permit. So
Okay.
you go down to the minutes
So
of this
November
application when
19,
it was discussed.
2007.
Unless she
Okay,
did
and that
it.
wouldn't be
And-
included in a FOIL that I did, or no?
It might not be.
Well,
Did you
Okay.
ask specifically for minutes?
I asked for
She-
everything
whatever's-
possible.
You have to
but
ask for the
it could be
minutes.
my error, I mean, I.
The minutes are online, so
Yeah.
Okay.
she might have not provided the minutes because they're accessible
Yeah.
online.
It would,
Yeah.
the determination was at that meeting.
Mhm.
Prior meetings, there would be discussions of it back and forth like we're doing now
Now.
to figure out if
Yeah.
it was doable, and the consultant or the homeowner would bring in information and we would work our way through it and make a determination with the information provided.
Okay,
And that will tell you exactly what they were asking for back in 2007.
okay, all
You
right,
can go, once you find that online.
It'll
let us
give you a
know.
roadmap
Yeah.
from at least 2007 to current.
And then,
okay.
then you can get a hold of us and maybe we can look more, see if there was a permit.
You,
Okay,
you
I
can
mean-
go
Oh,
to
there's- It
Southampton
shows that
Town
there's,
No, I
it was
mean-
denied.
and
You have a
like,
permit before
Okay.
that, for something
.gov.
else on the property.
For the
go to
bulkhead.
agendas
Yeah.
and minutes,
okay,
go to, you'll see a drop down. You want to put in the trustees,
okay,
and then it'll give you all the dates you need.
Hold on, I think Jess might have sent the minutes.
okay. I mean, I
Jess
went
is
with
listening.
what the paper listed
Okay.
as denial.
She's good. Hi, Jessica, thank you.
Did you send them to you, James?
Yeah.
Now, years
That's
ago, 40s and 50s, some of these applications were in the name of dock builders,
Oh,
Yep,
For
she did. You got it? I
the
got it.
applicant.
Yeah,
okay,
I'm not saying that this was the way, but I mean, I know in Hampton Bays, some of the dock
Can you
builders
read?
would actually apply to the Board of Trustees in the name of the property owner, and it would be, the permits would be in their name,
okay. All right,
so.
This
the-
is David
hold it, this is
Silverstein, though.
legalized and I can't really read.
So,
What's it say, Jane?
so
I
can
can't
this
blow it
is
up?
Mr. Silverstein. It
Correct.
says Fred.
You wanted to
Meyer brought up the
legalize it then,
application.
Yeah.
without permits.
Recently constructed walkway, floating dock, recently.
Treated
All
lumber.
work- All work done without permits.
okay,
So some part of that was denied, some part of what you're looking at there was already denied.
okay.
I guess the walkway and the float, I can't quite read it.
Safe removal of
Trustee,
the bulkhead.
Trustee Havmeyer brought up the application of David Silverstein, 49 Water's Edge Road, North Sea, off Fish Cove. Mr. Silverstein would like to legalize recently refaced 60 feet of bulkhead. Legally, recently
Yes.
reconstructed 4.5 by 60-foot walkway. Legalized recently installed 2.5 by 12-foot ramp and 6 by 20 floating dock. Secured by 2 4-inch posts. All this work was done without applying for permits. Aerial photographs ranging from 1976 to 2004 do not show any evidence of these structures. All structures were recently constructed and installed with treated lumber. The dilapidated ramp and float were probably brought in from somewhere else. Trustee Havermeyer recommended that his application be denied, as all structures were constructed with treated lumber and there were no structures previously on the site. Trustee Havermeyer recommended all structures be removed from Trustee Waters, and he will notify Justice Court. Trustee Warner recommended that Mr. Silverstein submit a plan for the safe removal of the bulkhead. Trustee Havermeyer recommended the applicant do a soft solution for the shoreline instead of a bulkhead.
I wonder what happened in Justice Court.
Yes, we have to go find out what happened in Justice Court.
Okay.
See
That-
why,
So we
They
already
never-
went through this.
Okay, so then Justice Court, to find out what happened at Justice Court
Right.
would be,
can you scroll down a bit
Go
more?
down just a, I think that's,
That's it?
It sounds like a
That's it.
sensible solution was offered by trustees Warner and Havermeyer. Warner Senior and
No, that was,
Havermeyer.
that was me.
2000.
That was you?
What year was it?
Oh,
2007.
Seven, that was me. I was on the 6 on the board.
That's very sensible.
okay, so then it's you.
Yes, yeah, yes. See, I told you I remembered.
Yeah, we remember.
Okay, so, good,
Yeah,
okay.
okay.
So,
next step
Yeah.
Well,
is to go
next step.
to,
well,
Let's see, ask our council. Let's go, Joe, can you,
well, you got Mark's here too, I mean,
Yeah, we
Mark,
got-
Yeah.
we
I
got
got
lots of-
Mark, I got Joe,
Yeah.
I got Joe, I got
where-
Mark.
let's see what,
And we-
which one says that
And
we,
we don't
what we
want a
like.
65 Cliff
You
Drive.
shopping.
Okay?
You're shopping.
Helpful.
Jess says you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Tell she just
Got
did,
a,
She had it, I was trying to get it, and she's like, James goes, it's up. She got it. She's
like-
watching.
it's like radar.
She's watching.
Jess.
Thank you.
thank goodness, Jess.
Thank
See
you,
that?
Jess. I'm sorry we didn't say thank
And
you
Baby
straight
Feldman,
away.
too.
I
Baby
did.
Feldman.
No, Baby Feldman yet.
What
What do
do
you
you
guys
Pell.
think?
what's the next step for us?
Well, they're attempting to legalize,
Which was denied back
right,
in,
and Mr. Silverstein is the person that's currently also making the application?
That's who I'm here representing.
All right, so in other words, he knew and he didn't do anything about it, now he's
Yeah.
back. So I would say that trustee Havemeier's proposed solution, to the extent that it's still applicable, is the sensible way to go, because we don't allow treated lumber, it's gotta come out.
yeah.
Right.
And there's appropriate penalty for the legalization, and he's gonna have to replace everything that he takes out if he wants to restore the status quo as much as possible.
With perhaps the
And-
soft solution that was recommended?
But
Back
he,
then.
that would certainly be something that should be looked at, I would think.
Yeah.
But he's gonna need some guidance on this project, because there's a material that's been placed behind the bulkhead which elevates the property.
Yeah,
And
it's
there's
gonna
a
fall.
dredge.
We may need some core samples or something from that
Yeah.
background.
So.
Because we don't want the
there's a-
same
there's
thing
a-
what happened in,
There's a distinct
Cliff Drive.
elevation change
yeah.
From
I
the
mean-
house down to the bulkhead.
from the bulkhead to the wetlands
Yeah.
in front of it too. It's a substantial.
Because we don't want to cover
Step
the,
down.
we don't want to cover the wetlands with sand.
Yeah.
Right.
And we don't want the same problem we had down with someone removed the bulkhead with the town's permission without our permission down in Sag Harbor.
There also are no other bulkheads on any adjoining structures.
You might gonna have to recreate a wetland there and
Living
those
shoreline
bio ones.
might be.
Yeah,
appropriate
exactly.
For something like this.
I think probably that you're gonna need quite a lot of help with this.
Yeah, you might have to
He's
hire
gonna
like
need quite a
someone
lot
like
of
a consultant firm who can draw out,
Yeah.
Design,
this all the
we got
time.
to design
You
a
may wanna
plan.
get- You may want to get somebody that's got a little expertise in
Engineering,
legalizing structures.
but also engineering, because removal of the
Yeah.
bulkhead is
Yeah.
tricky, and the hydrodynamics of this little cove,
Yeah.
you
'Cause
know,
you'll-
to not, I mean,
because if he
You
has
don't
six,
need
he has 6 feet now,
bathymetry.
but he might end up with negative 6 inches, you know?
you're gonna need bathymetry, like the depth of the water, so that none of the sediment.
This is going to be a rather lengthy and detailed application you're going to have to make. It's going to.
Yeah, you're gonna have
It's
to-
going to, there's going to be a lot of board input on this.
Yeah, you're gonna have to do some research on who you're gonna, you know, if you
Help.
can't handle it, who's gonna help you?
Oh, I won't be able to.
Right, so you're gonna have to get
handle
someone to
this.
design
No.
what needs to be done
They're all
here.
like in the back, like smiling.
Yeah.
Has this been done before, where a bulkhead has been requested to be removed, and do you know what the steps, like, is there?
I think this is, I can't remember any others where we had to actually physically remove it, unless it was made into a,
Low sill bulkhead.
low sill bulkhead.
Where you remove the current bulkhead,
Yeah,
but there would be a bulkhead that would be low sill,
This might-
which would allow the
Yeah.
wetlands and the embank behind it to be stabilized. This might be a
a
good,
low, would do it with plastic with a low sill bulkhead, and it might in steps
yeah.
prevent this.
You're gonna need to consult with someone.
Yeah.
that's
Someone has to
very well versed
design
in
it.
this.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Sound.
that's really, we shouldn't be
'Cause we-
speculating on it
yeah,
now.
Because if you do a low sill bulkhead, then you can make wetlands behind each bulkhead.
There may be options, but
Yeah.
again, somebody that's a little better versed in this will be
Oh,
the
yeah.
best guidance that
Yeah.
you can get
That's
on
what,
this.
but
Okay.
that answers your questions. I think
Yeah.
you've made great
Yeah.
progress here today
Yes.
to see what's occurred and for this
Okay.
board to maintain consistency in policy, the direction that we're gonna go is pretty much set now.
Yeah, he knew your answer before you even came in. Oh, yeah, Mr. Stanley, because he got
All right, so I
denied.
do appreciate your time in that, and
Yeah,
I will look further for
Thank you.
better expertise in this.
Thank
Yeah.
you
In
for
all
doing
reality-
your research.
Jessica saved us a
Yeah,
tremendous
thank you,
amount of
Jessica.
yes.
time. You gotta
put
give
this
credit
one
where
on-
credit is clear.
Put this one on hold.
Absolutely, absolutely, thank you.
Thank you, nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
Okay,
guys,
good luck.
too. Thank
We'll
you.
be seeing this,
Yeah, you may not be seeing me, but you'll be seeing
at
this.
some point in time, we'll
Okay.
be seeing this for proper disposition. Thank you.
Hey,
Thank
Bill,
you.
I'll print this out that she
All right.
sent me and put it in that file.
Okay.
So you now have,
Peconic Restaurant Marina, 1109 Noyak Road, JOM Environment. Come on up.
JMO, Glenn Just. How are you, sir?
Very good. Happy first day of spring.
Yes.
A little chilly.
Ours is the first day of spring.
I thought today.
5:42 today.
Is it
5:42 PM today.
Yeah.
Oh, today? It was a little too chilly this morning, so if we can get a do-over on that.
You get it to over tomorrow.
There's no snow to show, Scott, so.
That's true. That's because I put the bucket on the front of the tractor, that's why there was no snow. That's what all my neighbors said, now that you did that, it's not gonna snow. I said, okay,
Keep
I'm
it
good
on
with
until June.
that. Yeah, I'm good with that.
So they're in for a 10-year dredging permit? You have the floor.
Pardon?
You have the floor.
We're requesting a 10-year dredging permit for Peconic Marina for 2 separate sections.
We don't offer those, do we?
No, we don't.
We could do
No.
like 5.
Yeah,
We do a permit
One
for
and
1 year
four.
and 4 renewals after.
yes.
Okay.
That's the way it works.
Okay, fine. We were granted a 10-year by the DEC.
Right,
Yeah.
we're not, yeah.
There's 2 sections I'd like to dredge. The first one being is a 3,008 square foot area. Be dredged to 6 foot at mean low water, and 81 cubic yards of spoil to be removed. The second section is a 1,818 square foot area, dredges to 4 feet below mean low water, 61 cubic yards of material to be removed. The plan is to store the material on site, so it be dewatered and then trucked off site to sand mine up front, 110. The expressway, I don't recall the name of the facility where it's going, but it's deemed dirty by the DEC.
It has
There's some kind of contaminant.
contaminants.
That's why they want to try it and then take it off the island for disposal.
So it's to be taken on site.
Okay.
Yeah, here's a survey.
Yeah.
This is a survey, right?
That's the survey, this is the plan, yeah.
Okay. And this black line right here is the line, survey line?
Is what now?
Is that the survey line? The
Correct.
black line? Their property comes up to here, okay? This is all us trustees then? This
Okay.
float has no permit, okay? So this float has to be bring back,
Has to be what?
brought back. It's not on their property, because as this survey is right up to here,
Okay.
okay? Let's take a look at it.
I'm really,
Here's a up-to-date one, was stamped a little while ago. So it serves the same thing. Show it to Ann, you wanna see it too, Bill?
Yes, please.
Can you zoom in on that?
On this
Yeah,
Which one?
down farther,
This side?
where one of the corners of it, in there, right there, where the edge of the property stops, well, on the
So I
survey.
guess what he's saying is this is,
oh, this is a float here, yeah.
Yeah,
But is there a permit for any of this, Billy?
no.
All of this is not permitted,
No, it's not permitted.
that floats,
Where's the float?
Right in the corner?
Yeah, and it goes,
Crosses the line?
it crosses the line.
oh, I see, okay.
So part of that bulkhead is trustee?
Yes.
Yes.
Are-
I remember, Ed,
Yes.
you were telling me stories about your father when he was down there on this same problem.
Yes, there was boats stored on our property.
Yeah.
that-
What I would ask is for the marina to have stakes put there, actually stake it out and delineate it so we can all go down and look at this.
Okay.
I know this has been a contentious issue for years,
Yes.
ever since I was on the board and many years prior, this
Yes.
whole area. So, I would like to, I think the board would like to see
To
it
have the
staked
cleaned
out
up, yeah.
and clean up the property line boundaries that are currently there, so that we, once and for all, can put this to rest.
Yes, because so the future trustees won't have the same problem what we have.
Yeah. And as far as the dredging of the dredging part of it,
You wanna see it?
yeah, really,
Yeah.
I know we have had,
You got trouble with that one neighbor then.
no, we had,
No.
there's been multiple questions here as far as
Yeah.
dredging and, I mean, this is,
You have to be careful of these people over here. 'Cause this stuff comes in here, so this has to be protected, so this doesn't keep on falling in from here.
okay,
But this does, I agree, this does need to be dredged.
okay.
Right, so here's your issue.
Here's your issue right here, yeah,
So this needs to be dredged, but we got an issue here,
yes.
It's
And
the
then we
second
got-
area to be dredged, right here.
right here.
Yeah, now, I know historically when because I was first on the board when we did this bulkhead
Bulkhead.
project, and we did the return, and we only went so far to the east, because once you get east of that, there's
A lot of wetlands.
wetlands and unprotected waterfront, there's no bulkhead.
Right.
And dredging this at a steep slope, and the roadway, there's only about 15 feet between the wetlands and the roadway, and it's an elevation very, very steep. We felt that it was going to literally just slough into the,
Where's the cross-section of the dredging? Where's the,
On the second page.
Next page over.
yeah, I mean, this is
it's gotta be the proper, otherwise it's gonna do exactly,
I mean, this is,
And the trouble, you see, that dock should have been where the dock was permitted years ago. It's too close, so when the bigger boats go in there now, the prop wash knocks it down.
so,
this is stretch area BB.
yeah, we gotta find the one for the area that was the wetland.
All right,
which
this is AA.
BB.
No, it's-
BB's,
No, this is
BB1 is what you're talking about, so you gotta find BB1.
BB1, okay.
So BB1 is, this is
Like watch the
BB2,
speakers, fine.
BB area 2.
Blow the guy in.
Sorry, Charles.
Dredge area 1 is this.
It must be this, and this is area 2. So this would be the one that we'd be looking at.
Dredge area 1 is the one to the east, near the wetland.
That's letter A.
So that's showing the top.
You're talking about area B, right?
Yeah, A is right there, but we're looking for the angle of the dredge.
BB area 1 is what it said, right, on the,
Yeah,
He has it right
This is
here.
confusing.
did it say BB area 1?
I don't know.
Yeah, dredge area 1 right up on the screen.
BB1.
Yeah, he got
But
it.
it's saying-
It's the bottom one. It's
It's
this one
saying-
over here. It's that one.
it's this one here.
Yeah.
BB1.
That's
Yeah,
BB dredge area, okay, BB
This is
dredge
the-
area
yeah,
2. That is confusing the way they.
Yeah.
Mainly they just gone right up
Going
to
to
the bulkhead.
4, but what is,
Oh,
well, this is in front of the bulkhead.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the,
Need
So-
existing, what's,
this,
Meet existing depths.
this,
What's that, buddy?
To meet existing depths.
two, is what's up there now.
right, but what's, but they're not dredging this, they're only dredging this, 38 by 59, I'm trying to,
So what, look at the scale here. This is confusing.
they're only gonna go to 4 feet here? I'm trying to figure which,
That's what they're saying is that area.
the eastern dredging, the.
BB.
one- Yeah.
Right
that-
there.
They're only gonna go to 4 feet.
Correct.
Now,
So they're not really taking, what is it now?
it's -5, well, they're gonna do in front of our bulkhead. And then they're gonna do by the wetlands, a -2, -1, or -3 that's currently there. If they go to -4 there, it's really gonna be,
It's gonna cave right in.
it's gonna cave right in.
There's
So-
already -4 along here though, -3.8,
Yeah,
-3.9.
but this area of
-3,
shoaling is where they really,
-3.6, -5.2.
That's BB, this is BB.
yeah, this is,
This
this is B, this is it here. Because they're only gonna go to -4. Where is it? Just looked at it.
No, there's,
It's the bottom section, is the one you're looking at.
there's no,
It's just down here when
there's
buildings go.
-6.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Because this is the bigger crosshatch,
Oh, there's different ones?
yes.
All right, yeah, okay, so
Different
they're going to
size crosshatch.
-6.
Yeah.
So where's a -6 come in relative to the existing wetland?
The whole
The whole
entire,
area.
the whole area.
This whole area.
Our bulkhead stops right,
So to the,
right here, right? Is that the end of the bulkhead?
yes,
And then it has a return, so they're gonna dredge,
out
Past
and
the
around
bulkhead.
the T-dock.
yeah.
Yeah. How would they plan on dredging this? With a truck barge crane?
Correct, yeah.
With a clamshell or?
Clamshell.
The best way to look at this is have them stake it out on the water where they're gonna do the dredging.
Gonna have to.
Yeah.
And then you can go down there and actually look at it,
Look at it.
because we're guessing where the.
Where
there's-
there's.
There's
so
a
me and you
shoal
can go in-
there.
Yeah, I mean, you can go.
You have a
Yeah.
state permit for this already?
Pardon?
You have the state permit for this?
Yes.
Do we have it?
No. It's just since I applied with you folks,
Right.
they've issued it in the meantime.
Glenn said that it was 10-year permit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it should be staked out where the proposed dredge area is going to take place.
Both areas?
Well, specifically
So
this
the
area.
corner.
The one along the
Did we
bulkhead.
get a copy of that?
Yeah,
I'll get it today.
Yeah, the BB, this is well, it says AA and BB, so it's the AA or
You said-
B1 on,
It'd be section, dredge area number 2, is what you're saying.
yeah, it's the one with the larger square
Got you.
hatch.
Now, you said you said about staking the other area where the float dock goes over the property line. You want the property line staked down, and that's where you want to see
Yes.
the property
Property
line
line.
Yeah, I
itself?
want-
And then what needs to be
yeah.
cleaned up?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
Make sure it once is on their property, not the freeholder's property.
Okay.
yes. All right.
And if you could do both at the same time, then me and Ed'll gonna have to take a look at it.
Yes, then we can, because I have a really, a concern about the dredging here and how it's gonna influence the wetlands, and the roadway is right above it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I know when when the trustees were doing the project, I met with the contractor multiple times down there. They did some dredging and some backfilling, and we were very cognizant of not dredging in front of the wetlands because it was gonna cause issues with it.
Yeah, go cave in.
Yes.
Yeah, you gotta get the
And
grade,
plus,
you gotta get that
You know,
slope
we get-
correct, otherwise you're gonna compromise. You don't wanna do
And
that,
that's, we
obviously.
actually put a return there, and it became a very complicated project.
Okay. I wasn't real about prior issues, you know, with the site audit.
First project
So
for
we're gonna
bulkhead.
hold this.
Pardon?
This is getting held pending it being staked and resolving some of this, right?
Yes.
Thank you, Glenn.
But thank you so much.
Is
Thanks,
there,
Glenn.
is there a window on that permit you have from the state?
Yeah.
Okay, what is that window?
I don't recall, I'd have to give it, because it seems to be different with each one, is one's a
I
winter
got you.
flounder, one's a.
All right, well, let's
red
look at
mouth.
that. I got you.
Yeah.
Let's get a
Well,
copy
and-
for us to look at.
Shellfish spawning, so it's probably December 1st until about the end of January or something.
We'll look
Like
at
that.
it.
That's, and thank you for putting this on the agenda, Bill, because this is something I
Yeah.
want to address because of the window coming up.
Right,
Yeah,
so
we
let's-
realize that,
yeah.
yes, I realize. Plus,
Send that
it's
in.
boating season.
Shall do.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, folks.
All right, so that's on hold pending additional.
191 Shore Road. Patrick Pina. Pena. Have a seat.
Morning, Mr. Quinn.
Replace in place 150 feet of linen feet of existing timber bulkhead.
Did you sign in?
Head includes a 7-foot return on the southwest side of the boat basin and 8-foot groin under catwalk with Navy-style vinyl green hot topical lumber. Dredge approximately 20 yards of sand from the bottom existing of the 18 by 16 boat basin. Extend a catwalk 27 feet over the existing 8-foot groin to access a proposed floating dock. I think the trouble we had was the bulkhead was no problem, but the existing, the proposed float. Can you bring the plans up?
Yeah, what are you modifying specifically? It doesn't say on the,
Okay, well, it's basically all done. We had, everything was approved. We had gone through that. This is an actual overlay of the old survey versus the new survey. Because when the inspector came to do the measurements and check everything out, he had a few concerns. So
Yes.
that's what we're really addressing today. So the concerns were that there was it was put in as 122 linear feet of bulkhead to be replaced. And if you measure from the corner of my neighbor's property and to the end of the boat slip, it actually works out to like 100 linear feet. So the 22 linear feet is under, at high tide, it's underneath. You have the 8-foot groin, and you also have the return for that adjacent wall of the slip. So those two sections, I'm assuming the inspector didn't see. It leaves us with a 7-foot that, to be honest with you, I think it's just, you know, when the contractors came and gave me the linear footage, I think they might have left themselves a little leeway in all
Leeway.
honesty. So that's why I showed you the old survey and the new survey, which shows the overlay that they did a pretty good job replacing in place.
Okay.
You can see that one wall was leaning in. I don't know if you zoom in on that left side of the slip there. Obviously, the new material is much wider than the old material. I mean, they even have it from the corner. You see how the old bulkhead is actually, that's the narrower lines there that you see.
Yeah.
Laid into the new bulkhead.
Yeah, it's, one's a corrugated
Some-
plastic and the other one's a
Right, so
regular
it's going in and out.
So survey over survey, it looks pretty good.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I was a little nervous too, you know,
Yeah.
we can only trust the contractors.
So
to
much.
that point, right? Exactly. So when I first heard it, I was like, well, maybe I got ripped off, but it looks pretty good.
I just was wondering if,
So there was 3 concerns, I guess. So I just changed the linear feet, that was the modification there.
Okay.
The other thing was, the big problem that we had with the DEC kept pushing the float out because they wanted it in deeper water. But we didn't want the catwalk out any further than it needed to be because it's a pinch point right across from Conscience Point.
Yes.
Yes.
So we got that approved at 28 feet. When the contractors were there doing the job, they put the float where the DEC required it, and then they pushed the catwalk out, and it ended up only needing to be about 27 feet. So I don't know if that also has to do with the measurements where you take them from, whether inside the corrugated or outside, you know, the line of the new bulkhead. But that's one of the problems the inspector had, was that it was actually put in at 28 feet for the permits, and it only goes out about 27, yet the float is where it needs to be.
Yeah,
So I just adjusted that. as
Okay.
well,
so you moved it back
modified
in.
that. Yeah, we were able to just go out as little as possible. The
Yeah.
plans were approved at 28, but we went with 27 because it
Okay.
could fit. So we put in a
Okay.
modification for that.
Okay,
So this is correcting the
For-
permit language pursuant
Exactly.
to
What we
the
had.
inspector's.
George's inspection.
yes.
Yes.
So, okay,
With
what's, a
everything being less than.
little bit. We're
Yep.
pretty darn close.
All
Yeah,
right, good.
just trying to, and actually, I guess in the favor of what we wanted to achieve, so that was
Right.
good. We didn't have to extend further.
What else has changed here?
There was one other point, I'm forgetting it off the top of my head, I apologize. Yeah, you might have it there. Oh, I think the basin width, there it is, 20 by 18. Again, I think that's just changing material where they might have measured from. Because I went back to the engineer and the surveyor on that.
So it's 18 by 16 now.
So you're just correcting that?
You're
Yeah,
correcting that.
and that's where
Okay.
the overlay came in, like, did I get it?
Right, so you've done what we've asked you to do.
Yeah, didn't everything,
Yeah,
Because of the corrugated
Right,
material
yeah.
takes up a
Takes
lot
up
more
Right,
area. Yeah.
exactly.
yeah,
So this is all resolved.
yes.
Yeah, just needed to comments.
Get to the
Okay.
next step here.
Yeah.
Next step.
You good with that,
Trying to
trustee
finalize
Pell?
it.
I'm fine with it.
All right, so that can advance
We all
that.
fine?
Let's advance it.
Does it need stamp plans, Billy, or is it, we gonna approve it as per the other plans?
Do we have stamp plans?
Well, the original.
We may
No,
have-
because it's before.
The originals were stamped.
No,
Yeah.
You're okay?
Yeah, well, it's just adjusting the measurements
Just
to more
right.
comply with what is going on,
okay.
but they were stamped by the engineer.
our second counsel said it's okay.
All right.
I don't have a problem with that.
All right, we'll move this
You
forward.
have stamped.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, folks. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Now, the next one that we have here
We already
is,
did.
I already did, I'm done.
Yep.
so we've got you, trustee Warner.
Theodore Calissus, 53 Far Pond, Shinnecock Hills.
Okay, I know that Stephanie had texted me, she was trying to get in on Zoom, but I explained to Stephanie that we don't do Zoom at work sessions.
Okay.
So I don't know, I didn't get anything back, I don't know whether she's on her way here or she's not in the area, so
Well-
you might, she was told it would be tabled if she didn't show up.
Okay, I mean, James, you and I went over this, we've had correspondence, or Nick in our office have had several correspondence back and forth with the applicant. They have changed the original, application to, instead of in front of the 18 inches in front, that they're gonna do in kind and in place.
Giving extra work.
So I don't know, if should we hold it, James, and wait for her to come, or do you want to go through it?
It's up to you, I mean, if you feel comfortable with it.
Well, I
Could
mean,
you zoom in just a little bit?
Oh, it's down for the bottom, for this, sorry.
I mean, the bulkhead applications in kind and in place, which we had asked for, and we're gonna ask for all the work to be done landward of the project, so it doesn't interfere with the wetlands that are currently there. 3/4 of or more than half the property is vegetated in front of it. Put up a, silt fencing, whatever, so that there's no siltation that could fall onto the wetlands. The only one other question I have is the application for the floating dock. It's only 2 point, yeah, I'm trying to, the depth of it is not adequate per our regulations. It's not 30 inches, it's 2.29. So the only thing I would like to recommend to chalk the dock.
And we would need plans showing that and state that on the cover sheet. And other than that, I think the application would be approvable, because there's no submerged aquatic vegetation in this creek here.
You have to move the pole so you can put the chunks going across.
Yes, well, I want to see the plans for the chalking,
Okay.
so.
So we could request that then of the
Yep,
applicant?
yes, we would request plans showing how they would
Chalk.
do the chalking of the dock, so that it wouldn't go any lower than 30 inches. And other than that, I think it's,
Approvable?
yeah, I think so. Stamp plans and then we'll be good. All right? So we
Stamp
can send,
plans, cover sheet.
yep,
with
Chalk.
Chalks.
yep, okay?
So,
And it shows the upland part of it. I'd like to see a schematic of what they're gonna do behind the bulkhead as far as,
It says
Beach grass.
10-foot
Yeah,
buffer
yeah,
will
yeah.
be filled with beach grass.
yeah, all right, so I guess it's on.
It's,
It's
I
on
think
there.
a cross hatching.
It's on there, I
Oh,
can't,
yeah, it's just really small.
it's really, really,
Yeah.
yeah, all right, that's why, it's sorry. I need my
Yeah, they'll last,
magnifying.
I was having trouble,
they'll last
with
line
bigger
in the
stuff.
cover sheet
Wow.
states that.
Yes, that was,
eat more carrots.
yeah, I don't think I have enough carrots at home for this. It's pretty,
More
pretty.
carrots, please.
So-
Less pizza, more
so-
carrots.
Does that sound adequate, James?
Yep.
Okay, all right, so we'll hold it until we receive that.
you wanna hold it?
Well, I mean, we're gonna put it off until we receive the
The plan.
updated version, okay?
Yep.
Okay.
So are we holding our,
We're gonna, the P plans.
Yep. The next application we have is Canal Properties LLC, One North Road, Hampton Bays, Nelson Pope and Voorhees.
Good morning, everyone.
Good
Hey
morning.
there.
Brant Reiner from Nelson Pope and Voorhees on behalf of the applicant. This one is, as they come, a fairly straightforward one, I like to think. We are asking for a permit to do some maintenance dredging of the boat basin that is associated with the boathouse project on the east side of the Shinnecock Canal, just north of the Shinnecock Bridge, the bridge that goes over the canal. Do you have a?
What do you want, area?
Yeah, so people know exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah, I'll hold it up while we're waiting for James. So
Yep.
the boat basin is a single and separate parcel now.
It's the old
And-
chart house,
What's that?
old
This is the old,
Shinnecock Way. That's
Shinnecock Way.
what- Way back when.
Yes.
yeah,
So, yeah,
I know it
Was
is
the chart
Time
house,
Runners.
too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was, yeah.
Good burgers. English muffins.
So again, there's been some shoaling that has occurred in this basin as a result of some failure to old bulkheads evidently. And you can really see you can see that shoaling right there where James has the cursor.
Yeah.
That's the primary point of concern. And then there's some shoaling around the bulkheading. You can see there's bulkheading all along the east side of the canal. It turns slightly to the north where you have the train trestle. That's what you see right to the north of the boat basin. You have a slightly naturalized shoreline. However, there is some buried rocks that are sort of adjacent to that concrete wall. Yep, right about in there. So the idea is to the points that the trustees were just making about slumping, is to be very careful as we approach
Yeah.
those naturalized shorelines, so we will maintain a natural angle of repose, because nobody wants any failure there. But as we work along the bulkhead where the slips are, and then the south side of the basin, again, we were just looking to dredge to 5 feet to maintain
That bulkhead's
navigability.
pretty new in there, right?
Yeah, that bulkhead was replaced based upon a trustee's permit just recently.
Yeah, I
To my
remember that.
understanding, our office didn't process that permit, nor were we involved in
It's
the
a
work.
tough spot to get in and out of when it locks
Yeah.
open.
Yeah, and the bulkhead that's between the canal and the property, the steel bulkhead was replaced too. That was where the erosion and all the material was coming, because
that old steel bulkhead had holes in it, and with the
Lots
wave
of holes.
action and current, really changed the inside character of that, basin. But since they've done that, that's many years ago.
Yeah,
So
you
now
can
it's,
see that photo right there, how
What's
it
that?
'calms.
10 years ago?
no, it's way more
How
than
that breakwater
20
calms the
years
waters.
ago.
No,
Yeah.
no, when they
Lot of
replaced
current.
it,
The steel bulkhead?
yeah,
I wasn't on the board then.
no.
No.
But it was just, that was replaced a little while ago.
The one on the inside, on the east side, was replaced.
So there has been, I mean, to that point, there has been some work done to make sure that that marina is operational.
Yep.
And again, I think right now, the last piece is just to make sure we get that shoaling taken care of. There's a couple of really deep holes in that basin, but, so for the most part, it's navigable. The area that we're looking to dredge is approximately 8,700 square feet. It seems like a lot, but it's really just linear along the bulkheads. James, can you pull up the plans?
Where's the material going?
It's all going off-site
And is,
to a licensed facility.
so it will be put onto the barge?
Yeah, this
then?
all has to be done by a barge. For those of you who are familiar, there's an embankment along,
Really steep.
it's pretty steep in
Yep.
here. It's now revegetated based upon, processing of proper permits, so it is stabilized. And the idea is that all the work will be done from a barge. And if you actually looked at the 2021 or 2020 aerials, you'll see the barge sitting in there from the previous bulkhead that was just recently reinstalled. So we know we can get a barge in here, we know the work can be done by a barge, so the material will be taken via barge to an off-site facility.
Where is the offloading site?
To be determined.
Okay. Can you contact our office prior to the project being started, so we can send our dock inspector? Because we would like to have him learn about the dredging process and how it goes from basically cradle to the grave, basically. We're gonna find out the end product, where the end product goes, but I like to see where it's offloaded, so he can get a visual aspect on how this whole process is done.
Okay, absolutely.
It's a training course for him.
Yeah, also, make sure that it's not washed overboard.
Yeah, well, Bill, I didn't say that.
That's what you were hinting.
No, that all makes a lot of sense, and we can do that.
Okay.
So, just to be clear, the product description, I'll just read it to you. Dredge approximately 380 cubic yards of sediment to a depth of -5 feet below mean low water. Proposed dredged area is approximately 265 feet long and 10 to 65 feet wide, comprising approximately 8,700 square feet. Clamshell bucket from a barge-mounted crane will be used. A crane excavator will be used to remove the sediment from the basin. All dredged material will be transported off-site to a licensed facility, and it is noted that per trustees Warner's request, we will be in contact with the trustees prior to the commencement of the work to make sure that there's an understanding about offloading sites and transportation.
All right. So these slips are all assigned, right, to property owners?
I don't have an answer for that. I don't quite know. It is a private marina. I would imagine that it does have some relationship to the condominiums, but it is a standalone property. Based upon the preparation, approval of the condominium map, the basin itself stands alone now. It's its own tax parcel.
Should we have the application switched over to that parcel, since the dredging will be on that location?
It should be.
No, it's under one north road.
One north, the application I read into the minutes was
This,
one
the
north.
boat basin doesn't have an
It's-
Yeah,
address, but it
that's,
has a
that's,
tax map.
that's why we had to put an address to it.
5 north, it's 5, it's not 1, right?
Well, it's a different tax map number, though.
But the tax map number we submitted should have been the tax map number on record for that basin. Can you click on that, James? The basin? What is that tax map number?
207-425.
Yeah, that's what we submitted.
Okay.
So on the
Maybe
application
we,
form
maybe
itself.
when it was added, it was put in wrong, so.
Yeah, because I have the work session agenda has it as 1 North. It should be, read into the record, it should be 5 North Road with a tax map of 0900-207-04-25.
Actually, we did note it as 5 North Road. I'm looking at the application sheet
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, but I'm looking at my agenda here.
Yeah, we made it
Just
wrong
made
on
it.
our agenda.
Scrivener's error.
So I'm going to amend that,
Oh,
so we know.
sorry.
Okay?
Gotcha.
We'll transfer everything to the correct parcel.
But to that point, our application cover sheet and product description should be accurate.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. I have it right in front of me.
So we would ask that you advance it if you feel appropriate.
I think it's good, right?
I'm fine with it.
All right.
It's a good idea.
I just need to get you stamped plans, please.
Yeah, if they're not stamped.
Yep.
I don't know if we stamped them to submit.
No, they're not stamped, so yes, we
Gotcha.
You good?
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, Fran.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
All right.
See you later.
74 Point Mecox, NTS Mecox LLC, InterScience.
Mr. Walker?
Mr. James Walker. This is a,
Hey, Jim. George.
this is a project that was previously discussed.
This is a maintenance project. We have permits from the town and permits from the state to do selective cutting. It's been a big success. Mr. Duryea's gotten pictures of our common read management projects prior. What happens is the Phragmites dies. When it's underwater, especially when there's ice over the winter, especially when Mecox is high, the Phragmites turns black, and it falls apart, and the rhizomes die. So really what we're asking for is a maintenance permit. We have not done any work this year because we're in the process of meeting Marty Shea's demands, and the work would proceed for another year. It's important to do maintenance. If you don't do maintenance, you have the threat of Phragmites returning. We did a permit for the next door neighbor and the next door neighbor at 250 and 260 Jove Lane, and these projects have been spectacularly successful.
Okay.
I urge you to go down and take a look.
You don't have a picture, do you, of
I'm
summer,
sure I
summer
submitted-
shots?
I don't know,
So,
maybe. This is
if you
Brand's
just
project.
describe, if you just,
Brand started this project.
if you just
What
describe
do
it,
you need?
just describe how successful it's been in terms of what, the.
The Phragmites is
native-
not growing.
If you look at the photos on the board here.
Wait,
What you
But
see
in the
right
summer?
there is marsh hibiscus.
So the marsh
And when
hibiscus.
you walk yourself back, you're gonna run into high tide bush. So that's all groundsel that's kind of lighter, almost green color. But you also have soft rush that comes back. In the water, you have chairmaker's rush, but you also have narrow leaf cattail. And these are unexpected, positive results. We didn't expect this. The first time we did it was at 55 Ambleside, and that guy has fallen off the map. We don't see him ask for permits any longer, but we were pleasantly surprised when the Phragmites rhizomes turned black. And then you could go down at low water and kick them, and they would fall apart. They're dead. So what comes up next is narrow-leaf cattail and chairmaker's rush in the water.
So
When
you have to
get-
plant them? No,
No
No,
planting.
they come through.
You can
because-
plant, you can plant them.
they're all
Right.
wild.
The state used to ask us to plant seeds down there, but
Yeah.
the real fact of the matter is the root bank is already, it has all the native seeds there.
Yeah.
So the first thing you see is some marsh hibiscus and some Joe Pye weed, but if you stick with it long enough, you start to see narrow-leaf cattail and chairmaker's rush in the water. And the Phragmites doesn't come back unless it's coming across a property line. So then, all we're asking for is maintenance permit.
Okay.
Property owner has continued Brandt's old project here when Jay Bielski owned the property. And she's done a good job. Property owner is represented by Peconic, Bill Matters, and they've done a nice job of getting the Phragmites out of there. And we have to continue with Marty Shea, and that permit process is right now. So we're asking for a renewal from the Conservation Board at the same time. I don't think there's anything else though.
No, it's a great project, and part of, this whole creek now is surrounded, like the whole periphery of the creek is surrounded with Phragmites, which didn't used to be the case. But because of the inability or not dredging the entrance to that creek over time, it's less saline in there, and therefore there's a higher percentage of Phragmites. So this
There's
is
a
a
lot of
really,
Phragmites.
so this is a really good example of.
These three
Two.
projects right next to each other have all worked. They've all been successful. They all have ended up with native plants
That's right.
Yeah,
at somebody's expense. Each one of these projects is very difficult in terms of dollars and cents. But if you have a property owner that's committed to the projects, they seem to be reliable and highly successful.
is there a point at which the natives come back and completely
There
are able
always
to-
will be some kind of
maintenance
involved.
necessary? Always,
Always.
okay.
And if they stop, well, the problem is that 5 years goes by and then they spend more money trying to get the.
Frags back out.
Selective cutting is easy to do. It's kind of inexpensive. The longer you do it, the less costly it is. And we've had a huge range of factors. It depends on the salinity and how much fresh water input. At this part of Swan Creek, it's directly across from the farms. The farmers are probably not going to come in for common remanagement, but the encouraging thing is where the property was successful, the next guy did it, then the next guy did it, and they all call our office and ask for common remanagement permits, and generally we've had big success with this approach.
That's great.
This is Marty Shea's approach. This is Environment Division criteria, protocol used.
Because of our work with the CPF funding, we had managed to make the long channel happen in Mecox after many years of fighting with the DEC for a permit. So now that the salinity has gone from 6 and 7 up to
24?
24, 25, this whole character of the perimeter of the shoreline of Mecox could change with the higher salinity.
Only took 6 years to get that permit.
6 years for a 5-year permit.
I won't go there, but
You should,
Take 6 for
you
5.
should have applied 6 years ago for
Yeah,
a new one.
yeah, I
6
know.
for a 5.
But the fact that the trustees got the big dredging project done, they need the biolog installation at 10:30, possible.
Yep.
So living shorelines benefit from the water being low as well.
Yes.
Makes it easier to install them. All those projects are good. And yes, dredging is critical.
Yep.
Well, I think we're good here.
All right, Joe.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks,
Good
I don't
meeting
need
you.
engineered problems, excuse me, I don't need engineered
No.
plans to selectively cut Phragmites.
No.
Okay.
You're good.
Thanks. Advances, please. Thank you, Jim.
Thanks.
Okay, so we have,
21 Baycrest Avenue.
patiently waiting.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, this had been before your review previously,
and the float was going straight out. And that led to the landward end of the float being in shallow water. So we rotated the float accordingly to be in a T configuration. Length of the dock has not changed. The length of the fixed dock changed slightly to reach that, or to reach the ramp, to reach the float. But the overall length still is 100 feet from the mean high water.
So we're all complying with Blue Book regulations?
And it shows the float.
As a child,
Yes.
with bracing and cross bracing.
Okay, so you've done,
With the 4 poles.
Yes.
James?
Yep.
It's done what we needed to be done.
Looks good.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And 39 Jessup,
Last but not least.
Bernard S. Hodes, shoreline bulkheading.
I think this one,
On-
I spoke to James about. This, they had permits for doing the work, and they did less work.
They got a permit for redo of a bulkhead and a ramp and a float. They redid the bulkhead. When the inspector went down, the ramp and float was not there. They decided that they didn't want the ramp or float, so before our conversation about less than stuff, they submitted a modification. So this is a modification to remove the ramp and the float from the permit, which is good with our Blue Book regulations, so I would recommend its approval.
Okay. I'm fine. James fine, I'm fine.
Advance it.
Yep.
We've just got the general permit applications for determination for the final stamp plan review. So we have trustee Pell has one for 309.
309 Noyak Road. Come on up. And you handed in the stamp plan?
Yes, I did. They were delivered and then emailed to Chris.
Are you fine with it, James, the stamp?
Yeah, we received them.
Then I guess that's it.
Everything matched, everything's
Everything
good?
matched? Everything's good?
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They're
Sign in first.
they're all-
You gotta sign in.
Sign in and sign
Name.
out.
Yeah. Well, the nuts and bolts and the hard part were done previous meetings,
Yeah.
so.
Today we take it easy on you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, and then we've got 6 Holly. That's a First Coastal for trustee Parish.
Same with this one, we received the stamp plans, everything's in order.
All right, so.
Fine by me.
sounds
Good?
Great.
Good.
I don't think Billy realizes he's up here.
Do you need me?
Nope, we're
You
good.
you did what you were supposed to do.
Yes.
You could have, could have been on your way. You were all good. All right, so that concludes our agenda for today. I do know we have executive session that we have to go into. We're a little late getting into executive session. Get here now. That being said, I'd like to thank everybody that has attended our nuts and bolts work session, and I will request that we adjourn this meeting and go into executive session for the purposes of discussing personnel and litigation.
Second.
Seconded, trustee Warner, all in favor?
All right.
All right.
Aye. Okay, meeting adjourned, we're going to exec.